Yes, team. Welcome to another episode of the Total Mental Performance Podcast. Today we have my good friend Ainsley Duncombe. Ainsley has quite the CV. We all call him the big fella, and I had to write it down, all the stuff that he's been up to. So he's the founder of Off-Market Listings, which is a luxury property brokerage here in Dubai. He's the former CEO of Groupon MENA, and he's the former CEO of African Resort International, and he's played a key role in scaling startups to valuations of over $1 billion. He loves boxing, just like me, and he's a wonderful, wonderful man. Ainsley, welcome to the podcast.
Wow, that was quite the intro. Thank you so much. Good to be here.
So just tell our audience, what do you actually do for work?
As little as possible.
Yeah.
So my main job is to look after my 7-year-old daughter. That's the main job. But the thing that I enjoy doing and that kind of enables me to get out and meet people as well is definitely the real estate.
So tell us all a little about the real estate business and what you're up to.
Primarily it's specialising in off-market listings. Well, I think we're all kind of familiar with the on-market listings, which will be the portals that you can list your property on. Some people prefer not to actually list on a portal or not to go public with the property that they're selling for a variety of reasons. Privacy, they're well known, they may not want people to know they're selling a particular property, or they might just want discretion and not, rather the neighbours know that somebody else has moved in when they see their delivery truck kind of pull up and they move in, as opposed to knowing about it by watching it and seeing it online.
Gotcha. And we met for our good friend Nick Patel. I didn't know anyone when I landed in Dubai 5 years ago. Literally no one. Nick was a client at the time. He's now become a friend. He's actually been coming on the podcast, so keep an eye out for that one. And I said, Nick, I'm trapped out here because of COVID. I can't go home. Do you know anyone? You got any mates? And he goes, meet Ainsley. And that's how we met. And Ainsley, since I came here, has helped me so much. He's opened so many different doors, whether that's in business, whether that's in personal life. So mate, I just want to say thank you, and I really do appreciate you.
No, man, you're more than welcome. Absolute pleasure. You've been an absolute gentleman and a scholar. So no, thanks. Thank you, to be honest.
So you've been out here 17 years.
Yeah, coming close to 18 years now. Yeah.
How did that happen?
I was in the UK. I watched a Discovery Channel documentary about them building the Palm Jumeirah. And I saw it and I thought to myself, whoever is building an island in the middle of the ocean is either completely crazy or a genius. Nevertheless, either way, I want to be over there and I want to be part of it. So, and it turned out that he was a genius, and it's kind of been a really interesting story ever since. An exciting journey living over here. And funnily enough, I now live on the island that I actually watched being built on the Discovery Channel, which is pretty surreal. Manifestation.
Yeah. So you came here in 2008?
Yep.
Wow. What was it like when you landed on the ground in 2008?
Very, very different to how it is now. I remember that there was no barbers here actually back in the day. I used to have to cut my own hair for a good amount of time because I couldn't find an Afro barber that could kind of get stuck in. So it was very different. It was very different, but it was also the community spirit was significantly different to how it is now, because there was obviously so few people. So it kind of everybody knew all the different restaurants or bars or whatever. So it's been fun.
When I first got here, I've got a second uncle, Brendan. I don't know if I've ever told you about Uncle Brendan, but he's a quantity surveyor and he works on the Burj Khalifa. He's been here for decades, right? We sit down and I said, what's the deal with Dubai? And he goes, you know New York? I went, yeah, I know New York. And he goes, who built New York? And I said, I got a feeling he's Irish. I'm half Irish. I said, let me guess, the Irish. He goes, yes, that's right. But you know what we were doing? I said, what? We were carrying all the poles and all the paint, or we were crabbing around or whatever. And he goes, do you know who's building Dubai? And I said, I don't know. He goes, the Irish. You know what the difference is now? I said, what? Now we're in the office.
Same people, different role.
Yeah. And he was explaining to me that he believes that Dubai is the next New York, that New York in the early 1900s was when they really started building all of the towers. That was when you could walk around and there were plots of land in Manhattan that hadn't been developed on. And that's what he thinks Dubai is. He thinks they're making their big bet that in 50 years, Dubai will be as big, as developed as New York. What do you think to that?
I would say Uncle Brendan is a pretty smart guy. I would say that much of what he has professed has already happened. I think it was last year that we had more visitors that visited Dubai than visited New York. So in some ways, we've already surpassed that, and I think we'll continue to keep surpassing that, especially transit visitors and actual visitors on the ground as well. So a combination of both of those. And I think in many ways that Dubai is a lot more attractive to many people than New York. In terms of the weather, when it's cooler, obviously, the winter weather, it could be more favourable. The crime rate or lack of could be more favourable to many people. The aviation, the ability to be able to get to different parts of the world so quickly. I mean, don't take my word for it. Wynn Casinos, their next casino is opening up in the Emirates. After already been open in Vegas, and so I think there's many reasons why this part of the world is starting to become more attractive. But yes, I think it's already surpassed New York.
And what I find interesting is because these guys are building on a blank canvas, they can move really quick.
Yep.
In the UK, it's a country that's 1,000 years old. Well, England is a country that's 1,000 years old. So whenever you want to build something or change something, it takes a very, very long time. One thing that this place really shocked me with was the speed. Yep. The speed at which they do things, the speed at which they operate. It's almost, I use this metaphor. It's like this country is like a speedboat that can pivot, can get around, it can move, or like an early stage technology startup, it can disrupt, it can make decisions.
Yeah.
Whereas some of the more developed economies in the Western world is a bit more like a big corporate or a bit more like a big oil tanker. So it takes a lot longer for them to react to market conditions and go, okay, we're going to invest in this area, or we need to, simple things like changing the roads or changing the infrastructure.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that this country and this city has is speed.
Yep.
Do you find that speed, you've been here a long time, just becomes an expectation versus whenever you go to other countries or when you go home?
So I definitely agree with the analogy of the speedboat and the oil tanker or the big cruise ship. I think that's one of the benefits of the Emirates and in fact the entire region. It's not just the Emirates that are coming up. I think we're starting to see it right across the region. Saudi Arabia's coming up. Oman is also about to make a really big push and do a lot as well. And Qatar, we all know that obviously they hosted the World Cup previously. So I think the whole region's coming up, and I do think that we are going to even as in that, going back to your other analogy. Even with a startup can beat the incumbent in business just by the fact that they are able to move that much faster. That's how they get the advantage. So while the big incumbent is thinking about what to do and they're going through this decision and that person needs to sign off on it, and the startups, the CEO's like, let's do that. And before the others are still thinking about it, they've already implemented it. So, and that's exactly what Dubai is doing and doing it very, very well and kind of setting the precedent. I'm not sure I answered the question, but did I kind of go off the question on that one?
No, all good. But I want to learn more about Ainsley.
Yeah.
So, how did you get into business?
It happened organically. One of the things that I will remember is in my earliest years, when I was at school, I remember driving with my friend Elliot in the car, and we'd go around to different schools during their lunch hours, and we'd be selling clothes to the different schools during their lunch hours. So I think that's kind of like where it started. And I used to get the clothes on sale or return. So if I sold it, I made some money. If I didn't, I could return it back. And it kind of just kind of carried on the entrepreneurial flair. I think it was in the blood from the start, and it kind of went from there.
Do you have any family members in business, or were you the first one to go, no, I'm gonna go and make this happen?
My dad was a doctor, if that kind of, but that, I wouldn't say that's like traditional. That's not kind of like business. That's not healthcare, right? So no. My mum was a counsellor, so no. I was the one that kind of decided that. My sister's a school teacher, so yeah, I was the one that decided that I wanted to go down this path.
Where were you born?
Chelmsford in Essex. So I was born over there, went to school over there. I spent most of my earlier years there before then moving to the Canary Islands 16.
What happened then?
In the Canary Islands,
Yeah.
I loved it. I was there 9 years. It was fantastic. Had a great time. Bought my first house, 24, over there, working commission only.
Commission only?
Yeah, for 9 years.
What were you selling?
Well, in fact, what we were actually doing was bringing people in to different hotels and resorts. It's called on-pavement canvassing.
Gotcha.
So it's literally speaking to people while they're on holiday and bringing them into different resorts and stuff like that.
Well, knowing you, that makes total sense, because whenever you invite me to your birthday parties, you connect the whole... you just bring everyone together, so that makes sense.
Do you know what? I really thoroughly enjoy bringing people together. It makes me happier than anything else. It really does. Bringing people together and then going and seeing them do something and do some business and bringing something, no better feeling.
So why business? Of all the things that you could have done, was it just the people bit? I like people, I like bringing people together. Or was it something else?
Number one, yes, I did like it. I do like people very much. Number two, I enjoy it. And number three, because I was good at it, it ended up being rewarding. So I think those are the kind of three main reasons why that, as opposed to something else. I never really looked at anything else. When I was younger, I wanted to be an agent.
Like a sports agent, football agent.
Yeah, a sports agent. A sports agent or a barrister. Yeah, one of those two is what I kind of would have wanted to be, yeah.
So you spent 9 years in the Canary Islands. Then what happened?
After the Canary Islands, I went to the UK. I had to get my driving licence. So I went to the UK for a summer to get the licence. That was the plan. And then I ended up staying a little bit longer than the summer. I got a job there. I started working there. And then I ended up going to New York after that.
What were you doing in the UK, and then what happened to what were you doing in New York?
In the UK, we had a call centre. Calling, I trusted tradespeople, similar to Yellow Pages, if you remember them back in the day. So it was a directory type business. I ended up working on the phones. I started off, I said to them, in fact, I remember this vividly. I said to them, I'm only here for one summer, and I'm not going to stay in the UK. I gave them three reasons why I wouldn't stay. I think it was the weather, the tax, and something else. So I said I was going to come, do the summer, then I'm going to go. And I ended up working on the phones, doing quite well on the phones. They said to me, do you mind if we put another couple of people next to you whilst you're on the phone? I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So they put 3 people, then they put 6 people, then they gave me a team of 8, then they gave me a team of 16. This is all over. The company was growing very, very quickly at the time. And they ended up becoming the sales director for the company within a really short period of time.
And then did you stay or did you go?
So what actually happened, which is a funny story, I had every intention to go, but I just got my driving license. And then what happened, we used to have a morning meeting. There's quite a few in the company now, but by this stage, 80, 100 people. So one morning, we're all inside having our company meeting, and then the sales director, Bradley, brought everybody outside, and he said, and it's cold, we're in the UK, and he said to everybody, right, listen, having a meeting, there's one person that's been doing really, really well, blah, 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 and I'm thinking, right, it's going to be either Scott or it's going to be Luke. There's these 2 guys that were working in corporate that were really, really good. So he's talking, I'm trying to think, which one is it? Scott? Is it Luke? Is it Scott? Is it Luke? And next to him, there was a car with a cover over the top of it. So I'm there trying to think, and I'm like, it's Luke. It's definitely Luke. Luke's got it. Anyway, I carried on doing all this talking, and then he said, Ainsley. I'm like, what? And then he said my name, and then they pulled the cover off, and it was a new Mercedes-Benz compressor, and that ended up being my first car. So because I've got this convertible now and driving around in it, of course I stayed for a bit longer. I think that was the plan. In hindsight now, I look back and
you see how they played you?
Yeah, they played me like a fiddle.
And was that your first taste of management, and that's where you started going, this is where I like building teams and working with people?
That was my first taste of international corporate, management. We had a team in the UK, and then we ended up having a team in Kolkata in India. So I'd fly over there and go and work with those guys over there and help them with their sales and that kind of thing as well, going backwards and forwards. And then there was a thing they ended up. It's a bit of a long story, so I don't want to bore anybody on the podcast. But to try and condense it and make it as short as possible, because we're in a business park, everybody was in different offices. The lions, the tigers, the cheetahs, and they all had a target that they had to hit. So in every office would be a plasma, and then the amount of money that they needed to go and get for that day. And it would go from red to orange to green. So what ended up happening, around about 11, 12 o'clock every day, I'd be in the main office with the CEO, and we'd look at all the different other offices, and whichever office was performing the worst would be the one, right, the cheetahs, they're doing the lions, they're doing the worst. Right, go turn them green.
Would they send you in like a bailiff?
Well, they'd say like,
Where's my money?
Mr. Green would go running. They're all on the phone making the cold calls, right? So then I'd go run into the office. I didn't have to do that much, to be honest. Just the sheer fact that I ran into the office, they all then started working that much harder. So I just turned up, and they did better, and they ended up turning green. I got the nickname Mr. Green. And then he opened up a call centre in India because he worked out he could have 5 people working for the cost of the one in the UK. And then India wasn't performing that well, so then Mr. Green got sent out to Kolkata.
And did it work?
Going to India?
Going to India. Did you eventually get those guys in the green as well, or was there a disconnect between UK sales culture, Indian sales culture, and?
That's an awesome question. Do you know the answer to that or no?
Yeah. No, I don't know the answer.
Okay, that's an awesome question. You're setting me up perfectly. So, I've got an interesting story that happened to do with all that, right? So, I'm in India.
Right.
I've got this sales team. I've got my number 2, the Indian number 2, that's the boss that's there, that he's my guy that I kind of work with. And so I'm speaking to the sales team, and I said to all the team, listen, guys, over the next 2 weeks, whoever performs the best, I've got an incentive for you. I'm like, okay, right, great. I'm like, what is it? I said, we're in Kolkata. And I said, whoever person performs best, I'm going to take you, all expenses paid, on a trip to Agra, which is where the Taj Mahal is in India. Right. Flights, accommodation is probably worth $1,000, $1,500, which is a significant amount of money to the guys. So I said, I'll pay for everything. You know, you're all set, you're all done for whoever wins. So I delivered it to them. I could tell when I delivered it to them, they weren't really that over the moon. I'm like, I'm paying for food as well, guys, flights, accommodation. Anyway, I left it, didn't think that much of it. Next thing you know, I speak to my man on Friday. I said to him, the guys haven't really picked up on this. What's going on? He was like, no, it's okay, sir. It's okay, sir. They're all fine. And I'm like, nah, I know better than that. I know when a team's brought into an incentive and when they haven't brought into an incentive, right? So I went back to him and I said to him, level up with me. What's going on? He goes, all right. He goes, the truth of the matter is, the men, if they win it, they can't travel. They can't leave their families to go to another part of India for 2-3 days with you. They just culturally, they can't do it. I'm like, oh, okay. And he goes, the women, they definitely can't travel with you. They can't even, I go, no, but they'll have their own rooms and all that. He goes, nah.
Doesn't work like that.
Doesn't work like that. He goes, they can't. I'm like, right, okay, cool. So it just so happened, when I'd left the UK to come there, I'd actually picked up from JJB Sport a David Beckham t-shirt.
Right.
T-shirt cost me, I don't know, $19.99 or something like this, right? The Agra trip the Taj Mahal trip was worth $1,500. This T-shirt was worth £20. So the next day, I went back in again to the guys, go, right, morning guys, we're doing the meeting. I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. The trip to the Taj Mahal, I'll scrap that. Instead of that, what I'm going to do, and I reached into my bag and I pulled out this number 10 David Beckham England T-shirt. The place erupted.
Really?
They all went absolutely mental for this T-shirt. And the guy that's my man, Friday, the manager, he's like, whoever wins it, I'll buy it off of you. I want the T-shirt. Really? He wanted it. And it was at that point the penny dropped for me. And I was like, what is an incentive, what you see as an incentive that's an incentive to you,
it's not to them,
may not be an incentive to somebody else. And that was really important because that was a big learning, because that learning that I got there, I took it around the world with me to all the other different places that I went to. Because once you can understand that, and even though to me it's $1,500 trip, £20 T-shirt, doesn't matter. If somebody else buys into it, it's worth the world to them.
And what is fascinating about sales team is they are very externally motivated. Like they love to go after external targets. They love to go after incentives, watches, cars, holidays. I know I spent 6 years in software sales and being in those environments, right?
Yeah.
But I have my answer, but I'm curious on your answer. What do you do when you've got somebody that's highly skilled, but they've got everything they need? How do you get performance out of those guys?
Oh, I quite enjoy those guys, because the way you kind of phrase the question, it kind of sounded like it was quite monetary. They've got everything that they need, right? But there's lots of other things that you can give them outside of the monetary value. When they got the cars and all that doesn't push their buttons anymore. Then you've got to come out other ways and other different things. So, I mean, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them in that order. So it depends on who you've got in front of you. Everybody's different. But invariably, if you spend enough time with somebody, you can kind of work out a way to be able to tap in and get them. It might be prestige. It might be, status. It might be, there's lots of different ways that are not monetary that you can get them to get motivated.
My simple one would be an Arsenal season ticket. If you said to me right at the beginning of the year, it's like, right, Kieran, here's if I was still in sales, it'd be, this is your budget for the year. We've got a corporate season ticket. If you hit your number for the year, you can have it.
Yep.
I would, because the waiting list is 10 years at Arsenal.
I've heard.
Right?
Yeah.
So, that would make me go. And sometimes as well, the value of understanding, well, what makes this person tick? Because some people just like hear it scoring goals and they just like being number one. So
that's what I'm saying. That's right.
Yeah,
some people may well score goals for the money. Other people may score goals to beat the competition. Others may score goals just because they just enjoy it and they're good at it.
But I also think that's why if you look at sales teams, generally they're younger. Like you don't see, unless they're in the real big corporate enterprise stuff, you don't go into short sales cycles of, say, I don't know, 1 to 3 to 6 months. You don't see many guys that are like in their 40s or 50s. They tend to be a little bit younger. And I think that's because they are more extrinsically motivated to go out and prove themselves. They've got a bit of a chip on their shoulder. And that's quite a fun energy to be in.
Yep.
But I tend to see the ones that do really well, they go 1 or 2 paths when they start to hit their 30s, which is, 3 paths. Management.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different thing being an individual contributor to being a manager.
Very much so.
People think the best ICs are going to be the best managers. It's just not true.
Yeah.
The next part is they do a career change. They're like, you know what, I don't want this anymore. It's essentially what I did. I just went, you know what, I don't want to sell anymore. That's not my thing. And then the other path is they just kind of psychologically check out and they tick along and they know how to hit their number, but they never really they kind of sandbag their numbers and they tick along. What do you reckon with those guys? Would you prefer somebody that's consistently at 80, 90% just ticking along in your team, or would you prefer somebody that is a bit more up and down, a little bit younger, to go and get the result?
Age-wise, I'm not really that fussed. In terms of the younger ones are more hungry, obviously they've got more energy, they're more up for it. And they'll take more chances typically. So age-wise, I'm not that fussed. I like working with all different types of people. Sometimes when it's more of a challenge to get them motivated, can kind of be a lot of fun, a lot more fun. It's more of a challenge, right, to kind of get them up and running. The question was, what do I prefer working with, or how would I get them to work better?
Both.
Okay. I prefer working. I honestly don't mind, to be fair. The ones that go up and down, I don't mind. I've had those kind of guys before. I've leveled them out. And how would I do it? There's not one trick or one size fits all. Which is one of the biggest challenges, I guess, from it, because typically in a corporate type of style of business, you want to be able to roll out one thing that you can kind of do a magic wand, use it on everybody, and then crack on and conveyor belt and move through, right? With what I've found is that typically doesn't work that well in my style of doing business. Of course, in other corporates it does, and they've managed to work it out. But I like the more personal approach to be able to work with them. Okay,
so you spent this stint in sales.
Yeah.
Then you go to New York.
Yes.
Another stint in sales?
New York, Wall Street, sales.
And then, was that when you went to Dubai after that?
Yeah, after New York, then I came back and went to Middle East. Yeah, I went to Kenya actually first before that, then Middle East. Yeah.
What was you up to in Kenya?
Kenya, we had a hotel over there, and we were selling it. We're selling it into the hotel for different people that lived primarily. The best analogy would be New York and Miami. So we were in Nairobi, which is like the New York, the capital, and then we had the hotel on the coast, like Miami. So
What is the Miami of Kenya?
it's very different. It's very different to Miami. That was just an analogy. It was by the beach, basically. It was beachfront, but that was a nice resort. 400 rooms.
So you spent some time there.
4 years.
And then you went to Dubai.
Yeah, 4 years there, and then the pandemic happened while I was in Kenya. Airport was shut down, couldn't travel, and at the beginning of the pandemic, the respirators was a big thing. And I did the math on the number of people that were in Nairobi and the number of respirators that they had. And the numbers weren't numbering. Yeah. And I thought, okay, I need to move.
Gotcha. And then, so was you between Dubai and Kenya before?
When I was in Kenya, I was in Kenya.
Yeah.
I was there. My daughter was born over there.
Uh-huh.
But then once the airport shut and then once the airport reopened, that's when I then came back to Dubai.
Gotcha. So now you're in Dubai, and then what happened there? Tell me about the Dubai story.
I mean, Dubai was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed Dubai from the Property Finder days when I was running Property Finder and running Groupon. That was the CEO for Groupon for Middle East over here as well. So yes, Dubai was great. So I mean, literally, pandemic happened. We had to kind of leave and come back. So yeah, came back to Dubai and got started. I knew quite a few people from previously, and then they started business.
Gotcha. Tell us about Groupon. So you were the CEO for MENA.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So my friend and I, we were in Dubai. We were looking for a job. At the time, the market was really, really challenging and tough to get a job. So we knew Groupon had just recently come from the States to Dubai. Mm-hmm. So he phoned up the Groupon office, the guys that were here. He pretended to be HR, and he said that he was a new recruitment company and that he had some candidates that he wanted to send in. They were like, we've heard this story before, everybody's pitching us to give us candidates. He said, listen, the candidates that I've got are significantly better than all the other candidates that you've traditionally been getting. They're like, okay. He said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will send you 2 of these candidates completely free of charge so you can have a look at them and see them. And if these candidates are better than the other quality of candidates that you're getting, then you can start working with and go from that. And they said, what, you'll send them to us completely free of charge? I said, no charge at all for these first 2. After that, obviously, we'll start charging. But just give these a try. If you like them, keep them. If not, that's no problem at all. You'd be absolutely. They said, okay, fine. Monday morning, 2 candidates turned up. That was me and my friend. That's how we got our job.
Wow, you both got hired?
Yeah.
So were you the first boots on the ground here, or was there already an established...
There was a handful, like 4 or 5, that they'd sent over from America.
Wow.
Like a handful, but some of them left. And so there's like, 2 or 3 main people that were sent over from the States, or sent over from Germany actually, that were actually here. Then we came and joined as sales, and then I ended up becoming the CEO.
Tell me about that. Like, how did that happen? Was it a case of you already had the contacts, you already had the industry, you knew the market? Or run me through how you go from sales to the CEO.
None of the above.
Uh-huh.
That's how we landed the job. And then it was a case of doing the sales, outworking everybody else. It was easier when the company's smaller, because obviously there's a lot less people. And as the company grows, and then just working, understanding it, learning it. In fairness, I had a bit of a head start because prior to that, I had my own business, which was called lowcostdubai.com, which was, we actually had like a beer index at the time.
A beer index?
A beer index to show you all the different places to get pints around Dubai and the different prices for them.
Was it harder to get pints back then? Or
it
not?
was a little bit more challenging. There was a few less places than what we've got now, but yeah, it was just as you can see the most cost-effective place to get pints, but also to get fuel as well and that kind of thing. So I had quite a few relationships with people that were here and car rental companies and all that kind of stuff. So that also gave me a bit of an advantage, actually, to be completely honest.
For the black book, you had the black book. You went, leave it with me, kids. I got this.
Book. I had a small book.
Yeah. Okay. And then what happened after that? What did you get up to? Is that when you went straight into the business that you're doing now?
After Groupon, we then went to Property Finder.
Property Finder?
Yeah.
What was you up to there?
I was the international business director. So my job was to open Property Finder, which is the property portal, in 6 different countries. And I ended up opening it in Qatar, Lebanon, Egypt, Morocco, Bahrain and Saudi Arabia.
And was you doing that from Dubai, or was you going into each individual country and setting up the office from scratch?
Both. So I was based, I resided in Dubai. But then one of my roles was to recruit a CEO for each of the different countries. And then I would then, go around, and then it was almost like spinning plates.
Yeah.
So I'd get one country up and move to the next one, and then keep going around and making sure the plates could keep spinning.
So what were the countries again?
Qatar, Lebanon, Egypt, Morocco, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia.
Bahrain, Saudi and Qatar, probably a bit more similar. I imagine Egypt and Syria and Lebanon, very different.
Saudi Arabia wasn't similar to any of them.
Really?
Saudi Arabia was a country on its own. The women in the office back then, they had their own office.
Got it.
That was under lock, that I'd never been into, was never able to go into. So if I wanted to speak to any of the women that worked for us, then I'd need to call them.
Wow. Yeah, that's a completely different ball game.
Yeah. And then they would come out, they'd speak to me, and then they'd go back in again. So I didn't know if they were, sitting there, heads back, having...
So that's really segregated offices.
Yeah, male and female. Back then, the women that, for their transport, they used to have either a family member or a driver drive them around back then. The women couldn't drive in Saudi Arabia back then, but things have changed a lot since then.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So there's a lot of mental fluidity happening there. Like you have to adapt to different cultures very, very, very quickly. Yeah. And you're probably offending people in real time without realizing you're offending people in real time. Did you do your research before you went to each of these countries so you know, right, this is what I'm walking into? Was it a case of, I'm just going to land and find out?
So, to answer, I had a fantastic guy that I used to work with as well, as my number 2, and so we would do our research about all of the countries. We had to decide which countries we're going to go into, which countries we weren't going to go into, why we're going to go into the country, what we could potentially, yield from the country. So yes, we did do research before we went to all the different countries, but there's only so much you can learn. There's only so much you can learn from Google, Then nowhere told us that I wouldn't be able to, go into the women's office, for example. That wasn't on any of the spreadsheets. So it was a learning curve. Unfortunately, full credit to the CEOs and the country managers that I put in place, because they were good guys, and they made life a lot easier. But yeah, without a shadow of doubt, it was an interesting experience and a challenge.
When you're interviewing in these new countries of new cultures, what were you looking for? Was you looking for, they're kind of like me and I can understand them, there's a feeling in there? Was it a skill set? Was you leaning on intuition? Was you how do you do that? Because it's one thing being in Dubai and knowing this market inside out and going, okay, this person's from this region, they're probably going to think more like this. Or this person was educated in America, so they're going to have the management practice of an American manager and leader. Okay, when you're going into those markets where it is completely different, how did you approach that?
I definitely didn't look for anybody that was anything remotely like me. I always look for people that are significantly better than me. I've always done that in terms of when I've been recruited, to try and people that understand more, that people you can kind of learn from, but definitely a lot smarter than me. And when it comes to finding those people, what I'm typically looking for is their mindset, at how that they see situations. Sometimes I can learn a lot from just the way that they phrase a statement or a question, or the way they phrase something. Some people have that a negative spin, positive spin, and glass half full, glass half empty kind of thing. But so it was more about their understanding of what they'd done, how they'd done it, but more importantly, why they did it. Their why, the factor that drove them. And because once I knew that goes back to what we were saying earlier. Once I understand that, then it makes it that much easier for me then to be able to motivate them and to get them to be able to perform and do what they need to be able to do with their teams.
Can you give me an example of something that you saw in someone when you went, that's my guy? The one that particularly stood out, where you're like, yeah, you know what? This guy brought something a little bit different.
I'm sure that there's lots of different times when that's happened. I mean, one that I would say that I liked in one of the countries where I was in, I was speaking to somebody potentially to look to be a country manager, but he was giving me examples about another startup business that he was running and how he was running it, how he was recruiting it, how he was retaining his staff, and those kind of things. I'm like, he's interesting. If he's been operating for 18 months and 9 of the 11 people that he started with are still with him, that immediately says something's that's the kind of guy that potentially we want to have on board, because retention is so much easier to keep people than it is to keep recruiting.
Okay,
probably not the best example, but off the top of my head, that was just what one of them that came up.
Yeah. So off the back of that, off the Property Finder, then what happens? Where do you go?
Property Finder, it was then to Kenya, and from Kenya, it was 4 years in Kenya, and then it was back to Dubai.
Gotcha. And is that where you stumbled onto your business now?
My business now came about, I was at a friend's house. He had a beautiful property. He'd just renovated it, swimming pool, white tiles. It was stunning. And he invited us around for a barbecue, and I was in it. We were in the kitchen. We were cutting lemons actually on the kitchen. We was talking, and he was distraught. And I was like, "What's going on?" And one of the reasons he was distraught is he'd put his property on the market. First people that came round to look at it was his immediate next door neighbour. It was the wife of the immediate next door neighbour. She came round with her best friend and with her camera phone out.
Right.
So they came to do the viewing. And the phone was recording from the minute the front door opened, and all she did was walk around his entire house and record all the renovations that he'd done. Because she wanted to then go back home, show it to her builder and say, go and copy that. And my guy was so distraught. He was genuinely distraught. He said, tore my property, I don't have my property listed anymore. He was really, really upset about it. I thought, that's interesting. I thought, there could be something there. Where we could be able to do something to offer people the ability to market their property outside of the traditional ways, to give them more privacy and protection, so that they don't, we could limit people being able to come and go through the experience that he went through. So that's kind of where it was born from that, and it's kind of grown from that, and hence the celebrities and all those kind of things that kind of jumped on. But that wasn't the original idea. It was just kind of I saw a pain point. I wanted to try and see if I could fix it.
And did you work with him on that property, and then something else happened? So, tell me more about the startup journey of that.
Well, I had the idea, so then it was born, and then it was just working. It's like reverse engineering. So I know what the problem is, what's the solution, and how best can I do that? I had quite a fairly good network because I'd been here for such a long period of time before that. So I knew quite a few people in the industry. I understood how portals worked, not only here but in the region. So then it was just a case of, right, okay, how would I go about being able to enable somebody to list their property or to buy a property that's not, necessarily in the market? And what's quite interesting about that was that idea that I had, a good few years ago. But now with the invent of AI and technology, it's meaning that it's harder now to keep your property off the market if you don't want everybody to know about what you're up to. And some people they still want to have their privacy, and they don't necessarily want everybody to know what they're up to. It could be for a number of reasons. It could be a bereavement, it could be a divorce, there could be a number of reasons, or they might just want privacy. Yeah,
Gotcha. So then you got your first client, and you got your second, you got your third, and is it a case of you figured out your process and you just keep on working?
It was a case of, quite simply, treating every client as if they're your parent. That was all it was. One of the funniest things, that I've kind of seen working in this market is there's lots of people, there's lots of brokers. There's 20,000 plus brokers working in this city. But a good percentage of them are just looking for that one deal. And that's their priority, that's their focus. And I was like, I get it, I understand it, but why don't you look further than just the one deal? Why don't you look to see how you could not only sell them the property, but how about, if they want to short-term rent the property, or they want to, buy another property, or they want to sell that property? Why not go the whole life cycle with them and look after them in everything that they want to be able to do? So it was just kind of, that was the mindset. It was, one, help them be able to get what they want to get discreetly, if that's what they want to do, and then two, be able to look after them the whole way through. And that's kind of where it went. And then referrals started coming in and that kind of thing. And by having that, many of the newer guys have to make the phone calls and all that kind of. when people are calling you, you then are deciding which people you want to work with, which people that you may be best not to work with.
Yeah, well, all the best businesses and services come from referral only because it's the proof's in the pudding. Like, you've been my broker, you helped me get into property investment. You've worked with a number of my clients, and I know whether you treated me and looked after me, you'll do that for all of my clients as well. I think that's a really nice frame, which is treat your clients like your parents. I take that same line of thought when I'm in the car and somebody in front of me is driving really slowly.
Yeah,
and I'm getting angry, and I'm like, come on, let's go. I go, oh, what if my mum was in the car? So that level of care and that level of detail and that level of attention, I think is super important. And it sounds like you've got the concierge mindset. Certainly my experience was, what do you need? Right. Have you done your market research? Here's my market research. Have you looked at this? Have you thought about this? What about this? Here. I think interior design, end to end, you just helps me go click, 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 and off it went.
100%. Same as the parents. If why can't they get picked up in a Maybach? Why can't they, if they want to have a helicopter tour and from the sky, why can't you sort out interior design and assist them with everything along the way? Because working with these people every day. Most people, when they buy a property, it doesn't happen every day. So, I've got these relationships. Why not just be able to try and see if I can make the process as seamless as possible? There's always challenges. It can be a big transactional process, right? Such as you experience. But as much as I can do to make that as easy as possible, I'm all for it.
You also work in some exotic real estate stuff as well. Can you share with our audience the more cool projects that are very niche, they don't come around so often, but...
Yeah, okay. So we also have islands in the Maldives that are for sale. So we've actually got islands there. So if people are looking to, like a developer is looking to purchase an island, we can then find the kind of the island that they're looking for, depending on how many keys that they want to develop, how many rooms they want to develop. And then we can kind of help facilitate that. Over there, but if they wanted to get islands closer to off the shore of the UAE, we also have islands in the World Islands off the coast of Dubai that we can also get as well. So now, because obviously what we're doing and the types of clients we're working with, it's opening up other opportunities and other avenues to do some, as you said, more exciting things than the bread and butter regular kind of villas and penthouses.
How does somebody buy an island?
They come and speak to me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a. As with much of the purchasing of properties over here in the Middle East, it's a lot easier, significantly easier than many people actually would first initially think. Yeah, it's not as challenging as you may well think it is.
Okay, so is it a case of you spot? Like, here's a question, right? Could I buy an island, and would I be able to go, right, Ainsley, I want this island, I want privacy, I want a high-speed internet, and I just want to have one building in the middle of it, and that's it. Would it be as simple as me instructing you, you go and find it, you go and negotiate it, gets bought for a price? And because in England, you want to buy an island. In Europe, you want to buy an island. There's a lot more regulatory. Who are you? What do you want? What's going on? Is it a bit more straightforward? Do you still get the same level of background checks, security checks? Is it harder for regulation? Is it much easier to just move because of where we are in the world? Or
so number one, I wouldn't have to go and find the island. I think I've already got one in mind for you already.
Oh, for me specifically. Oh, perfect.
Yeah. I've got one that I think that can fit the bill for that. So I wouldn't have to go and search for it. We've got one. So that bit check. Perfect. We've done that already. Yes, of course, we still do our due diligence. We still have to, abide with all the rules and regulations in terms of the KYC, knowing the client. Fortunately, with you, I know you, so you a second tick, you're passed on that bit. So yeah, it's just down to the funding. If you've got the money, we can make it happen. When you're going to start building.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll push that to Q1 next year. Let's see.
I'm ready when you are.
Let's see. Okay. So when I look at you, I look at your ability to engage people. Very good at engaging people, speaking with people, listening to people, understanding people. You're very good at speaking people's languages, not the international languages, but just understanding how people think, feel, and operate. Is there any study that you've done to help you with what you do? Is it, because there is a lot of just intuition. There is a lot of people, they say he's got it or he hasn't got it. Is it that? I'm curious about you and how you have got to this place and the way in which you work with clients?
That's a really good question. Never been asked it before. But the answer to that is I've not read, I don't remember reading one sales book ever. Recently, a friend of mine called me up one evening. It was a Friday evening, and he said to me, early Friday evening, 4-5 o'clock, he said to me, Ainsley, I've got 2 tickets for a show that's taking place this weekend in Dubai. It's a speaker that's flown in from America, a very famous speaker. He's flown in from America. And he said he bought the tickets 10 months ago. His wife she didn't know she was pregnant at the time, but she's pregnant now, they've had the baby, and he couldn't go. And he said to me, are you interested in kind of buying these tickets? I said, listen, I'm not interested in buying these tickets because of, I'm not. But feel free to go and try and see if you can sell them. If you can't sell them, give me a call back in a couple of hours. I'll come. I won't let the tickets go to waste. How does that sound? And I'll sort you out. I'll invite you somewhere else or something, and we'll do something. He said, okay, cool. I said, fine. I knew he'd call me back because I knew it'd be difficult. He paid a lot of money for the tickets as well, by the way. A few $1,000s for the tickets. Then he called me back later on. He goes, okay, you're up 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Come down to this sales course. So that's one of the first sales courses that I've been to in my life.
Tell me about that. Was it, oh my God, this is amazing? Was it, this is obvious? Was it, I'm not feeling that? Like, what was your experience with that? We don't have to name any names or anything like that. I'm just curious, and somebody that's never done any training as they walked in and gone.
I was beyond disappointed. I was incredulous. I was completely surprised and completely shocked by what I saw. Although it was 2 days, I stayed for the whole time. I was disappointed. Yeah, I was really disappointed. I expected it to be a lot better. He paid a lot of money for the tickets. And I expected it to be more informative. And I wanted to learn more because obviously I've never been to one before. So I wanted to kind of learn a lot. So yeah, I was shocked.
What do you think it was missing? Was it missing a repeatable framework, or was it you looked at the framework and went, how are you using that? Like, yeah, what was missing?
I don't know. I'm a positive kind of guy, so I never like to speak badly about anybody, right? So
not necessarily about them, but for you, it's not about, because for some people that would have been a life-changing event, right?
Okay, so let me add this.
For you.
For many of the people that went there, it was a life-changing event.
Correct, yeah.
And they flew in from around the world, and I was speaking to them in the outbreaks, and I was speaking to them, I was talking to them. I found that I learned a lot from that as well. So let me correct that. I did learn a lot. But I didn't learn what he was pushing.
Got it. Yeah.
I learned a lot, but not what he was presenting. But that it was still a learning, so it was still good. It was still thank you to my friend for inviting me. So the ticket didn't go to waste. It was just really, really interesting to kind of see how these things look and what they offer.
I remember us doing a one-to-one session. Remember when I was in the marina?
Yep.
And I remember peering into your mind. And for everyone that's listening, I said to Ainsley, do you want to try a session? He's like, yeah, go on then. And you think 6 steps ahead. I remember there was a couple of challenges that were coming up at the time, and we were talking them through. And because part of my role as a thinking partner, so anyone that's listening, they're like, who's Kieran? I'm a mental performance consultant. So business owners, executives, high net worths bring me in to help them think, feel, and perform on a completely different league and a completely different level. Sometimes that's as a mentor, so teaching them how to become more calm, how to become more clear, how to get more done. Sometimes it's as a thinking partner. Maybe they're bringing a, multi 5, 6 or 7 figure problem that's really keeping them up at night. And a thinking partner, I'm helping them solve that problem. I'm playing devil's advocate. And one of the things I do is I start to play 4 to 5 to 6 steps ahead of where they might be. And I start to challenge them on the unintended consequences. I went to do that with Ainsley. You had already mapped out various different plans, and then when I tried to push you even further, you were already in real time going, well, A equals B, C equals D equals, not literally but contextually. Have you always been that way, or has life pushed you to become that way?
It's a tough question because what's a better way to kind of explain it? When you do something that you've always done, to you it's completely normal, no matter what it is, right? Okay, good. I've got the analogy. A pilot.
Yeah.
Pilot goes to work. To him, it's a Tuesday. He's got 400 souls on board, and he's got to go and fly these big A380 to Bangkok. He's doing all his things. To him, it's Tuesday. To me, he's the most incredible person around, and if I'm on the flight, he's the most important person to me because if he gets it wrong, we could all have a bad day. So I think it's kind of a little bit like that. To me, it's a Tuesday. It's just regular. It really isn't anything. But sometimes, different people looking at different things. Like me looking at that pilot, I'm like, that's really impressive what he's doing. It's really incredible what he's doing. But what he's doing is just going to work.
Okay. And what's next for Ainsley? Like, what are you looking for? I'll ask you this question. 3 years from now, maybe we're at another one of your birthday parties, maybe we're out for coffee. And I say, Ainsley, how's life? And you look back at me and there's a twinkle in your eye. You always have a twinkle in your eyes anyway, but there's a bigger twinkle than normal. And you say, Kieran, life couldn't be better. Honestly, I feel so aligned. I made it happen. What would have had to have happened for that to be the answer?
Daughter happy and healthy. Super important. So myself happy and healthy, and everybody else that loved ones, friends, and families be happy and healthy. I think that's the real goal, to be honest. I think that's the real goal. The other things that I used to believe were goals earlier on are no longer not the goals.
When did that change?
Quite recently. Yeah, quite recently. In the last few years, it's changed, and the shift has. I don't know, when you're younger and you're working towards things and you want to try and get to a certain number and you want to try and get to certain points, and then when you achieve the point, you're like, great, and what's next? Oh, another number, another point, and then you kind of like, you're like, hang on a minute, these numbers, nothing's really changing. There's more to it than just chasing the numbers. And I think being able to give back, help other people, give value, hence the reason why I do these kind of podcasts and stuff, to be able to try and, just kind of do basically what you're doing. Do what you're doing to give value, really, and to help people, to genuinely help people. And maybe it's legacy as well.
Legacy? I never think about legacy. What does legacy mean to you?
Legacy to me means being able to maybe send the elevator back down. 16-year-old Ainsley, because all the things that we've done, both of us, I think, to a certain extent, we've kind of had to figure it out ourselves. Yeah. We've had to kind of do that, and which we've done successfully. But I think, wouldn't it be great if we could help some of the other ones that are coming up, and to be able to make it so they don't necessarily have to quite do, have to figure it out for themselves, and they could kind of get some help and assistance from that.
I will never forget the elevator you sent down to me when I first came to Dubai, because I didn't know anyone, literally no one. I never wanted to live here. It was never my plan. To be honest, my outlook on this country before I came here wasn't great. It was just skyscrapers and sand. And I was like, well, I don't even want to live there. And then I got locked out here because of COVID and never left. But the elevator you sent down to me was, you looked at what I did and we were talking back and forth and you went, I've got some people that I know you can help. I went, oh, cool. All right. Well, yeah, I would really appreciate that. I think you'd also checked in with Nick to see his experience as well. And you said, yeah. Leave it with me. And then you called me up and you went, right, Kieran, I've got a meeting for you. And I said, what's the meeting? And you go, you're going to meet the manager of Conor McGregor. And I went, what? And you said, yeah, I've got a meeting for you with the manager of Conor McGregor. I went, right. And he goes, so clear what you're doing in 3 days' time in the afternoon. We're going to go and make it happen. So I was like, right, okay. We went. We sat in the meeting and we're going back and forth and we're talking about various different fighters in his roster and who he works with. And then I remember halfway through the meeting, because you wanted me to land Conor, you went straight in and you went, has Conor got anyone working on his mental performance and the way that his mind works? And he went, yeah. And I was a little bit, and you went, who's he working with? Tony Robbins. And we both started laughing. It was like, all right, Tony, you win this round. But I'll never forget that, because that was very generous of you to make that introduction and make that happen. So thank you. But that's a real time, big, what's the word? a lot of people like to say, oh, I want to help others and I want to send the elevator down and help people and whatever. But you really did that for me. And I do that with my mentees. And I think that's something that a lot of the world doesn't do. I don't know why that is. There's almost like a level of scarcity. Like there's not enough to go around for everyone. Or maybe it's just people don't have the time. But you are somebody that makes the time to do that. Why is that? Outside of just having a big heart.
Yeah, I can't speak for others on it. For me, I don't know, if you can do something, if you can make an introduction and you can do something that helps. On that occasion, it wasn't a dead hit, but the next time it may well be. So I guess maybe many of the things that I've done, I haven't done anything on my own, right? I have had other people that have kind of helped me throughout my time as well. So maybe I just want to kind of, pass it on, and it's nice to be nice.
Yeah. One of my mentors said, we're all stood on the shoulders of giants. People helped us, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger says, there's no such thing as a self-made man. And that really hit me home, right, really hard. He said when he came to America and he was going in the gym, people were giving him like pots and pans and frying pans, and he didn't have anything, right? And he was kind of just living in a little box room somewhere. And I know for me, there's been plenty of people on giants I've stood on their shoulders. What about for you? Is there anyone that you look back on, you're like, yeah, you know what? Now you mention it, this guy really helped me, and here's how he helped me.
Yeah, there is. So when I first left the UK, I was 16 years old, and I had a job in the Canary Islands. I managed to get a job that was offering me free flights and a 1 month free accommodation. So I was all down for this. So I applied for the job, I got the job. And then I was leaving to go, but I didn't have any money. So my best friend, Mark, he came to Heathrow Airport with me. Whilst we were at Heathrow, he reached into his pocket, he pulled out his last £50, gave that to me, and he said, you're going to need this more than me. And he jumped the train back home. As in,
wow.
Yeah, he didn't get caught either, which was great. But he jumped the train back home, and he sent me off to Spain with his last £50. So massive thanks to Mark, because without that, even with that, it was tough. but without that, it'd have been even tougher. So yeah, that's something that I definitely, it is still my best friend even to today.
Yeah, amazing. Have I met Mark?
Probably. He used to come backwards and forwards. When he came, we went to Bali for a trip. A thank you trip.
Yeah, very
he
cool.
came via Dubai.
Very cool. What about in business? Is there anyone that you, any giants in business went, you know what, this guy really opened some doors for me?
I've learned something from all of the people that I've worked with in business, and all the people that give me opportunities in business. And I've been given some fantastic opportunities, there's no question about that, in terms of some of the companies that I've worked with and some of the founders that I've worked with. So I've learned something from all of them. There's been none of them that I haven't been able to kind of, learn and understand and take me further in terms of everything, not only just, working with people, understanding people, selling and communicating, but, just being able to take myself forward. So yes, there's many people, all of them. I've genuinely, I mean that when I say that, because even if I haven't learned directly in terms of what they're doing, I've learned how not to do things as well, right? So I've learned from all experiences.
Have you got any mistakes that you can share where you go, yeah, you know what, this was a mistake I made in business and it set me back. Here's what I learned from it. And it actually set me up for the next thing.
How long we got?
We've got time for one.
Have I had any mistakes? I've had lots of mistakes. In fact, you know what? This is something for some of the younger viewers that may well be watching. One thing that I've learned is that you learn more from your mistakes than you do from your successes. So let me put that into real terms. You start today and you want to go and set up a business. Now, if that business you go and set up, you hit it through the park and everything goes right from start of setting it up all the way through to finish, you probably think you're the world's best business person, and you probably think you're unstoppable and unfathomable and you can do whatever you want. You would have learned a hell of a lot more had you started that business and it failed on the first, second, third, seventh hurdle, because then you learn what you shouldn't do, and you then have to come and reinvent and find a different way to do it. So that's what I would say in terms of on that. So I've learned a lot. And I've had a lot of businesses that have failed.
Have you ever been completely wiped out in business where, right, cash in bank is 0 or minus, and I'm literally dumped on my ass and I've got to rebuild again?
I mean, I wouldn't know, not wiped out in that sense. When I started, obviously, when I started left with £50, that was from a standing start from a negative 50 because that was Mark's that was Mark's £50. So that was the kind of the lowest time. But outside of that, no, it's just because I don't know. No, I haven't. I've got good people. I've got good friends. I've got good business partners and stuff like that. So I haven't actually been in that situation. Touch wood.
I got wiped out once.
Okay.
I built a nutrition app for boxers. Right, sounds really cool. And I was on the England boxing team at the time, and I borrowed £15,000 off one of my sponsors. My nutritionist at the time, who was building that app with me, borrowed £15,000 off of his uncle, who was an architect. And think about the boxing market, right? Product was great. It worked. It got the result. But how many active fighters that are training in camp do you think there are around the world at any given time?
Oh, there's a significant number of active fighters that are training in camp at any given time. It's significant.
Yeah, but like compare that to, say, MyFitnessPal, that have got hundreds of millions of people using MyFitnessPal. Okay. And then you've got maybe 1,000 fighters that are preparing for a professional boxing match or an amateur.
So the market size, the market share is too small. And plus, not only that, how many fighters there are, how many of those fighters have actually got money that will actually be able to kind of spend on something like that, right?
Yeah. So I think it was 18 when I took that project on. I was boxing full time as well. So that was kind of like I was working between the both. And that was my MBA. I consciously made a decision not to go to university because I looked at all the business management degrees and I looked at everything and I was like, that's not going to teach me business. Like that's just not going to teach me the skills that I need. You know, it's one thing reading business in a book and becoming a business scholar, and it's another thing actually just going out and doing it. Went out and did it. And yeah, that dumped me on my ass. Then I lost my place on the England boxing team. Then I ended up with anxiety and an eating disorder. Same height I was now, I was 56 kilos. Eating disorder, depression, want to take my own life, 15 grand in debt, and that wiped me out. And I was lucky that didn't happen in the space of like 1 month, but over a few years that started to happen. And then it all went bang. And then I lost my place on the England team and it was like game over. Felt like the world had ended. But then I'd already had a couple of years of software sales when I was 17 to 19 as well. So I'd already had some experience. And I went back into software sales and spent 6 years and I had to rebuild from scratch. But within 9 months, I managed to clear off that debt. And then I was, oh my God, back to zero. It was such a win. It was such a thrill. And then I built up some savings. And I remember looking at my account, I went, I have £10,000 in savings. Oh my goodness. But I learned so much from getting it wrong when I built Total Mental Performance and that company. There was so many things. Like, here's a stupid example. I spent $2.5 grand on design and branding for the business was called Make Weight. The TMP logo that you see today, I made that on Canva, right? I just like, I don't need to spend that much money on that. And it's just a simple example, but there were so many various different failings, contracts that I'd signed, things that I'd done that made me realize, I think the best way of learning is just going out and getting punched in the face and learning the hard way, because on the other side, whilst it hurts more and it's more emotionally stressful, actually the compound interest on learning that earlier
100%.
Then helps you build the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
100%. Fail fast. That's the best thing. Get out there, go, give it a try. The other thing that I see with lots of startups or entrepreneurs, should I say, that are looking to start up, is they have an idea and they're so protective of the idea. They don't want to discuss it. They don't want to tell anybody about it.
That scarcity.
They're so scared about, but what happens if someone else picks it up and takes my idea? And I get it. I understand. I've also I had that, but then once they understand that the best thing that they can do is get it out there, get feedback, understand it, and definitely get out there people that have run those types of businesses before, because they can kind of give you the understanding and insights that can save you a lot.
Well, I pitched my mentor Ron for 50 grand for the app. I'll never forget it. It was back when WeWork had just landed in London as well.
Yeah.
So WeWork was super cool at the time. I was like, wow, everyone's got startups and free pints and beers and beer, table tennis and whatever. And we head inside, and Ron, he used to be a boxer. He was an investor in technology businesses, and he was like, right, boys, what you got for me? In fact, how I got the meeting was funny. I got introed to him through somebody that I was working with in a role, and he said, oh, you launched that business. Go and speak to Ron. He invests in technology businesses. I was like, all right. So anyway, he says, Kieran, can't wait to speak to you on Zoom. Was it Zoom? I think it was Skype. I think it was Skype at the time. It wasn't even Zoom. And he goes, speaking on Skype, can you send over your pitch deck? And I went, yeah, no problem. See you then. And then a week before, he's like, hi, Kieran, I haven't got the pitch deck. I need time to review. Just checking we're still on for next week. Yep, still on. See you then. The day before, he's like, hi, Kieran, sorry, did you send me that pitch deck? And I get on the call. I was like, hey, Ron, I don't know what a pitch deck is. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just going to be brutally honest. Now, if you want to tell me to sling my hook, I will hang up right now. No issue. And he went, well, you're brutally honest. I like that. Go on then. What you got for me? So then I told him. Yeah. And he goes, okay, all right. Well, here's how you build a pitch deck. Go and build one and come pitch to me in London, and we'll go and do that. And we walked in. I brought Luke. He's now my best mate. And we go in. We do the pitch. And then I think it was 20 minutes in to the pitch, he goes, let me stop you there. Goes, stands up, goes on the whiteboard. This is why your whole hypothesis is flawed. Here's how the market is far too small. Here's a pivot, fight book, Facebook for fighting. That would make a lot more money and I'll get a lot more eyeballs, and social media investments are really high right now. I'm out. I'm not giving you 50 grand. You have to be kidding.
Yeah.
And I looked at him. Me and Luke looked at each other and I went, yeah, you're right. And he goes, well, keep in touch, boys. You're interested. And he walked out. Yeah. And me and Luke are like, we got to shut this down, haven't we? We went, yeah, we did. And we just took it on the chin.
You're already operating at that point. You already started.
Yeah. We were already. Yeah. That's why we needed the money.
Yeah.
Because we were 30 grand. Pretty much, I think we had £2,000 left. We'd spent 28 grand on this app. And by getting it out there, if I'd gotten that idea out earlier,
correct,
he'd have just, obviously there's timing, you meet certain people at certain times, but Ron would have just said, yeah, this is an awful idea, here's why. But you can't, when you are pitching ideas, there'll be a lot of people that will shoot holes in it as well. So you have to have a level. That's
very true.
You have to have a level of resilience. You can't just take what everyone else says.
That's very true.
But I think there's a balance of listening and going, yeah, I think you got a point.
Yeah, I think the difference in that is sometimes you can speak to your friends, depending on what, where you're at, that may well have not done it before. But then you can also pitch it to people that may well have definitely have done similar types of business before. And then you can gauge the feedback based on that. Those that have never done it before, you can take that probably with a pinch of salt. But those that have done it successfully before, you can definitely listen to some of the advice and tips that they give. And
friends and family also don't want to upset you. They'll say, that's a great idea. Yeah, go and do it. And if you take that literally, you're like, yeah, okay. You can trip things up. I like to run tests. So before you even build anything, like build an offer. See, would someone buy it or someone pay for it? Oh, you love the idea? Yeah. Would you buy one? Why not? Like shoot it down. I think when you have good friends, like I know if I brought you an idea, you'd say, here's my honest take. I think this is good. I think this is the flaw. Yeah. How would you counteract, or what do you think about that? Yeah. So you got to be careful with friends and family when you're testing new ideas.
I would never take it to family.
Yeah, I never take it to family.
Yeah, I would never take it to family. I take it to people that understand from the industry. Don't get me wrong, I would go back to family later on if I was looking for the funding. Yeah. If I believe that they were able to do that, I could take that. But for the actual ideas, no, because they're sometimes they're too close, right? Your mum's never going to tell you anything. I've got an idea. So
well, I have the mum test, and the mum test is if you can't explain your idea to your mum, you haven't articulated your business well enough. You haven't figured that out. Same with the 5-year-old test. Yeah. Can you explain your business to a 5-year-old? And if you can't, how can you expect anyone else to buy into it or sell it?
We used to use a similar thing with one of the tech companies that we were working at in terms of when we were producing a new app. If your mum or your grandma couldn't work it without you giving them any instruction or any advice, you need to go and start again.
Well, that was the genius of Apple.
Yeah, 100%.
And I don't know about you, but every time they do an update, I feel like they've ruined. Like, I remember the Photos app on it being so simple, so beautiful. And now it's like, hang on, where are favorites? Where's this? Where's that?
Yeah. Another good example of that is Uber.
Yeah.
Uber, you have it have the app open in your phone. I think within less than 3 clicks, a car can pull up outside.
Yeah, super quick. It's something I've had to work on a lot, particularly in the last 5 years. I have a propensity to overthink and complicate. And my mentors have been drilling it out of me. Simplify. And I've gotten a hell of a lot sharper at it pretty quickly. And that's essentially what I help my clients do, is just simplify their thinking and their emotions so they can get the thing done that they need to do.
Yeah.
How does Ainsley think about keeping things simple in business, in complex markets? Because you've operated in some pretty complex markets. How do you keep things simple?
It's quite straightforward, really. If it doesn't help me, if it doesn't bring any benefit, if it doesn't bring any value, we leave it out. So we just try to, in fact, coincidentally, I was speaking to one of my guys on the phone earlier today, and she was stressed, they had a problem, she's working on quite a big deal and it was going wrong. And she was fixated on all the things in the deal that was going wrong. And that's all I'm speaking to on the phone. That's all she kept on telling me. Oh, this has gone wrong, that's gone wrong. I said, how about we stop focusing on all the things that have gone wrong? Let's forget about that, because worrying about that is not going to make the problems go away. Why don't we focus on things that we can do to move forward and things that can help get us out of this challenge and out of this particular... She's like, yeah. So I'm like, or she goes, oh, I can't better sleep tonight and all these... all of that negative energy and all that worry and all that, let's use that productive and let's see if we can find a solution that we already knew what the solution was. Let's go down that road as opposed to going down the other road. I just kind of always kind of just try and keep it simple, stupid. Yeah.
What scares you? What is something that makes you go, oh.
Time.
Tell me more about time.
Time scares me because we only have a limited amount of time. We don't have enough time. And the clock is ticking for all of us. So I'm scared that I don't have enough time to do all the things that I want to be able to do. That scares me.
If you died, what would you think, I didn't get to do that? If you died tomorrow and it's like, I didn't get to do that, what would it be?
I didn't get to walk my daughter down the aisle.
I knew you was going to say that. As soon as I asked the question, I knew that was going to be the first thing.
Yeah. That would definitely be a negative. That would make me very upset. But that would really make me upset. Yeah.
Anything else?
I've been fortunate enough that many of the places and the things that I've wanted to be able to go and do, I've kind of done most of them, you know. In fact, I've done almost all of them, really. I'm just keep healthy and just try and get as much in as you can with the time that we've got, and try and change as many people's lives as we can. Right?
Tell me more about that. Is that something that you're looking for in the next part of your career? Is education, mentoring, and helping young people? Is it I'm just all in on the off-market listings business?
I definitely want to spend more time being able to help the next generation.
Yeah. How do you envisage that?
I think that there's knowledge. I want to do knowledge transfer. Yeah, I just want to better do knowledge transfer. But I want to do it in a way that I can help as many people as possible. Listen, if I could help just one, especially underprivileged kid, that'd be fantastic, and that's a win. Especially if he can go on to do something, he or she could go on to do something great. That's a win. Mission accomplished. We've done it there. But if I could do one, I could probably do 10.
Yeah.
If I could do 10, maybe I could do 100.
Yeah.
Do 100. So it continues to go on from that. So that would kind of be the next goal, because then you're able then to help the next generation up. So it's a platform in which I could help as many people as possible and to kind of give as much knowledge as possible.
Have you got any ideas how you might do that?
I've got a couple. Yeah, I've got a couple. So it's just making sure that the product that I'm delivering to them is as good as possible, so that they're able to kind of get the most value from it, that they can then use, and then they can then go off and kind of go and be as good as they can be.
Yeah. We've got a mutual love of boxing.
We definitely do.
I love talking boxing with you.
I love talking boxing with you.
You understand boxing. You get it. I never actually... Did you fight?
Yes.
Tell me more about that. Was that for Chelmsford ABC?
Yes. 5 fights, 3 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw.
Yeah. Tell me about that. How did that happen? Did you just stumble into a gym and you thought, oh, I like this? Or
I had a friend. He was into boxing, and he encouraged me to come down. Adrian, he encouraged me to come down to the gym, and we started training together. And we started enjoying it. And his dad would pick us up and take us, and that kind of thing. And it was good for fitness. And it was really quite exciting.
My dream for helping disadvantaged children is to create a boxing gym.
Yeah.
And the real I had this dream when I was actually 16, and I will realize it. I've still got some things I want to take off in business first. But the dream I've got is creating a boxing gym that you can put into disadvantaged areas in cities. And it becomes a self-sustaining model where all the coaches that are there, they get paid. And there's links with local businesses and and they run their own boxing shows, and they get paid through the tickets that they sell. So, hey, there's a boxing show. We run it in this hall. Every boxer, try and sell a ticket. You get 20% of what you sell. So you're teaching the boxers, here's how you sell. Here's how you get people involved.
Yeah.
And ultimately creating spaces where, like for me, I knew that as a kid, when I had a boxing coach just says, stop messing about at school and hit these pads and work really hard. And if you get good enough, you'll not only get out of this town, but you'll be able to fight around the world.
Yeah.
I was like, what? He's like, yeah, if you get good enough, you get called up to the home county team. You'll be able to go box in other countries, and you get called up onto the England team, and then you get to go fight in other countries, and you get training opportunities and whatever. Yeah. And that for me opened the door in my mind, which is, if I apply myself and I work hard and I get good at something, I can get out of the environment in which I come from and that I've been brought up in. And that, which wasn't bad, I want to be very clear. You know, I didn't grow up on the ghettos of South London, right? But I didn't have anyone in business, and I grew up in a small town on the outskirts of North London. So I didn't really see that there's a bigger world than that, but I knew there was a bigger world. But I was like, how do I get out of this place? And boxing provided that for me. And that's the vehicle that I want to build at some point, is a model where you can drop a satellite boxing club somewhere. You train a couple of coaches. The coaches can get paid for their time. The kids can learn skills around boxing. And boxing is just a metaphor for life, right? Yeah. Respect, discipline. You know, you get out what you put in. There's always going to be someone bigger than you, better than you, faster than you. You're going to get your ass kicked publicly sometimes. And I just think it's such a great way of doing it. But I don't think I've ever told you that idea. So I'm going to plant that seed. And at some point, I'm sure someone will happen.
Seed planted, and I think there's lots of value in it, especially with all the things that it's incorporated, fitness as well, teamwork. Even though it's a lonely sport, when you get in on your own, you still train as a team and that kind of thing, working with other people and that kind of thing. So there's lots to be said for that. And I'm an advocate. Anything that keeps the kids fit and healthy and out of trouble is always a benefit and a bonus.
Yeah. Cool. I'm going to ask you a question. Forget me and forget my company and all of that. The phrase total mental performance, what does that mean to you? If Ainsley embodied total mental performance, how would he know?
The phrase total mental performance means to me that you're able to perform mentally at your optimum, at your best. Uh-huh. Yes.
How would you know? Can you give me some examples if you had it?
If I knew that I was performing at my best.
Yeah, if you had total mental performance, you're performing at your best and it's working. How would you know?
It would depend on which environment that it would be in. But if it was in a competitive environment when there were other people, and if you're beating them, there's a good chance you're performing near the higher levels of of where you're at if you're winning.
Yeah, cool. Ainsley, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, mate. If there's anyone that's listening and they want to get in touch, where can they find you?
I am on Instagram. I am on LinkedIn. I'm on all the platforms as Ainsley Duncombe. So on offmarketlistingdubai.com as well. They can also go on there and get in touch with myself and the team and stuff like that. So yeah, it's always good to meet nice people. And thank you so much for inviting me on. It's been a while. Been waiting so we can schedule our diaries and stuff, but I really appreciate you inviting us on. It's been really, really fun.
Cool. Thank you, Ainsley. I appreciate you, mate. Guys, if you love this episode, please do share it. And if you want to hear more conversations like this, do hit the subscribe button. Big love. And I'll see you or hear you all, or you'll see and hear me in the next episode.